Welcome to the Cosmic Journey. I am Theron. I'm your cosmic weirdo. I am an astrologer, so I use the planets and the stars to bring self awareness to individuals who like to change and become unstuck in life. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by. I hope that you stay and be a part of our community. If you are returning, thank you for coming back. Thank you for hanging with me, and yeah, I'm happy to see you here. So I do ask that you all interact with this video by liking, comment, sharing, and subscribing for sure. This will help other people be able to hear this information and see, get this out to people who may need it and want to know this information. Okay. So, right now, we're about to start a series called The Planets Through the Houses. We're going to discuss the characteristics of these planets as they move through the houses of the natural natal chart. So, let's get to it. Oh, let's talk third house. It is the house of communication. It houses like our learning styles, how we receive and give out information, and what we learn, what we know. It is how we relate to our siblings, our cousins, our peers. Yeah, it's also the way we use our logic in how we operate and handle some of the mundane tasks in our day to day. It's short distance traveling is here in this the third house. So we're gonna dive in and see how these planets play out and each planet plays out here in this house. All right. So the sun in the third house. This person would love to learn because the sun likes life and likes to pick up information and have a lot of interest. So here in the third house, this person would definitely be in the know, wanting to know everything, wanting to have enthusiasm about learning, enthusiasm about wondering what's going on, and not necessarily hoarding the information. They would want to be the first ones to give out that information as well. So you can look at this as like someone is almost like a journalist. They need to know the information so they can give it out. So they can let everybody know what's going on. They like that information passes through them. So, needless to say, they probably are a little talkative because of their carefreeness. Even though they like to give and receive information, they may or may not be taken serious sometimes because they don't seem to take things serious. Things are a little lighthearted with them. um, they they have the enthusiasm, they have the energy, and things are a little lighthearted. So they don't seem like from the outside they're taking anything serious. So sometimes they may run into whether or not someone believes them or not because of they seem to always be in a enthusiastic, happy-go-lucky. I don't want to say childish state, but a childlike state with things. And if you have somebody who is really serious about information, they may or may not take the person with the sun in the third house serious all the time, or believe what they're saying is serious all the time. So that might be something the sun would run into. But for the most part, the sun's enthusiasm here in this house would probably bring up the fact, like I said, they like to receive and they like to be the conduit for information. I guess that's what I'm how I want to put it. And as far as relating with siblings and cousins and peers, um, that generally as a son, they are social, so there probably is a great relationship. Again, it depends on the sign and what is aspected in this area. So that is the sun. The moon here in the third house, this person would relish in deep connection being able to talk to someone that connects on a soul level is nurturing to them. That's one thing about the moon being here. Um, the moon, even though this is relating to um, siblings, cousins, and peers, there may be a influence of the mom or the either the mother or the I would say like the feminine energy that was a caregiver. It may even suggest that a sibling took the mom role um, in this house with the moon. Needless to say, though, conversation, communication, and having that heartfelt connection is important. So in school, um, probably like in like K through 12 grade school, having the moon here, this person may have come off a little sensitive because they kind of wanted more of a connection. Where school, school is pretty much, you had rules, regulations, and schedules and what have you. So it's not a lot of connecting on that on that heart level, and or in that heart space. And so that that challenge might have come up for the moon being in the third house, far as connecting with other peers and stuff. So there may have been something, because unless they were able to have that space to be able to connect, that part of their childhood might have been missed a little bit. Um, the moon being in the third house, um, yeah, they even communicate from a heart space. Um, they may still tell, I mean, they can be very matter of fact. However, it's coming from their heart, they're coming from their love. And they can be protective here, because the moon can be protective. And there may be a tendency to revisit the past. So they may revisit being in school and how school was to them and how they were treated by other students and what have you. So Venus in the third house will be one of the planets that will be able to be persuasive here. They would learn how to, because Venus likes to keep peace. More than anything, they like to keep peace. And, a lot of times they don't really care for confrontation. I mean, if they have to, they will. So they learn to be persuasive, and depending on how well adjusted they are, manipulating, and not in a good sense of manipulating. It just depends on who this person is and how they have learned how to get their way. Especially if it's to keep the peace, there's probably, different levels of depth they would go to do that. So, one of those, learning how to be persuasive and being able to pick up on energy from other people to shift their energy to make sure that, like I said, to keep that peace. So in school or with siblings, they were probably the person in the middle. If you have Venus here in the third house, they were in the middle, trying to keep the bridge between two opposite sides, trying to keep that bridge intact. So, like I said, they learn how to navigate that naturally. And it's just their own personal ethics with how they navigate that. So I guess I want to say it that way. So manipulative or persuasive, or somehow, depending on how determined they are to make the sides meet. And so, yeah, so Venus here, and so they may have, because it's Venus, there is an attraction element here. They would probably be attracted to well, they are. Venus are like beauty and art. Here they may be more into poetry, um, different essay writings, song, music, communicate something that communicates verbally with them, um, visually and verbally, where they can take in that information. Um, I can see that Venus, that would be something here that could be strong here for a Venus in the third house. And like I said, they're trying to be the peacemaker. Um, they so for the most part, they try to be the calm, like I said, the bridge for the two sides. Jupiter in the third house. This is the dreamer. This is the person who can brainstorm. They have vision. But what if we do this? And but what if we do this? And what if we do that? Um, they like to learn. They're enthusiastic about learning. And they also like to push the envelope to see how far they can go with what they learn. Relationships, they probably have, who's to say, they could have decent relationships with their siblings and their cousins and how they relate to them. Their challenge may be the fact that they are so dreamy that if they're surrounded by peers, like siblings and cousins and just classmates, if they're surrounded by peers that don't necessarily connect to their vision or just can see um, their broad scope on things, that can be a challenge because they'll be in a situation where they're not going to feel understood. But for the most part, you know, I mean, there's nothing in this planet being in this house that says that they're not friendly or personable or social or anything like that. However, they do need to be challenged mentally. They want to be um, always grow mentally. They even may as they begin to travel, they may start stretching, like old enough to, like, say, travel on their own. They may start stretching out from like um, car rides to now flying across coast to coast or going overseas. They because all of that is that traveling, they're having a good time, but they're also picking up and learning things about the areas that they're in. And so, like I said, they probably are friendly and able to relate and get along with people, but there may be a challenge if they're not surrounded by people who can actually hold space for them going big, and for that person to be understood. But Jupiter is going to intensify wherever it's at, unless it's in a sign or aspected to something that may restrict it. So for the most part, this person is like they're always learning. They're always picking up cues on something that expands their mind. Mars in the third house, this brings in a drive and determination to know, to learn. Mars can in the third house could have been a student that was kind of competitive, wanted to be the best in class, had that determination to outshine everybody else. Um, Also, Mars doesn't back down from confrontation. So, relating to other students and siblings and peers and cousins and stuff, chances are Mars was pretty vocal in how they felt, what they wanted, what they need, what they did not like, and without apology, which is a good quality to have. There was probably already a drive to, like, speak up for yourself. What do you want? What are your goals? How are you going to get there? And let's get it done. Again, the only thing that would make this a little different is depending on the sign and if there's any negative aspects that would kind of mute or try to mute Mars. Um, But even if if and I'm thinking like even if there is something, it just that whole drive and determination, it festers inside until somebody can just actually connect to it and get it out and you know set it free. But yeah, Mars will in the third house would be very aggressive about getting to know uh, what they need to know. They would probably start setting goals early, and mainly, like I said, to be the best at whatever it is that they're doing, whatever interest they have, to be the best at it, to be that self starter. Let's go ahead and get this done. Chances are, though, Mars is a self starter because they, like I said, they aggressive and they have that drive and they have that determination, but sometimes they don't have the stick to itiveness for the lull times or the boring times of that goal. If things are not moving quickly enough to their liking, they could abandon ship and leave the task undone with the intentions to come back to it. But sometimes that little slow part of a goal, because goals in the beginning are very exciting, and then they mellow out because you have a waiting period of something, and then it ebbs and flows, and so Mars may lose their attention. Their attention span might become a little short and abandon ship in the lull times where things aren't moving as fast, and they get impatient. So yeah. So Mercury in the third house. Um, Mercury actually lives in the third house. That's the natural in the natural astrology chart. Mercury lives in the third house and Mercury lives in the sixth house. He has two homes. In the third house, this person was born to be a communicator. This person was born to pull in information and send that message back out. Again, think of I think I used this earlier, but journalists for sure, like someone who will want to know what's going on and pick up the cues from body languages, reading between the lines, what's not being said, what is said and what's not being said, and then to be able to process that and get that information back out to who needs to hear it. Um, so, yes, Mercury, they're here to definitely communicate. Now, they may find themselves in the middle of some gossip here and there, because, again, the need for the information will, let's just say, the nosiness that could come about right now will put them in places listening to things and being a part of things that, that's probably in the long run is not in their best interest. And so therefore, they have to be careful of that. But for the most part, they are here to communicate. They could, I mean, this is I'm a teacher, someone that negotiates, like if they're into contracts and stuff and being able to negotiate, because they can negotiate well because they're picking up on cues that the other person is putting out to know where to go. So sales can be very good in sales. Um, yeah. And they may even travel, like do short distance traveling or for their jobs. So yeah. So yeah, Mercury, this is a unless like I always say, and I'm probably repeat it 1,000 times, depending on the sign, the zodiac sign, and any aspects that might not um, any harmful, not harmful, but not so friendly aspects to this would make a difference. But for the most part, yeah, this person is here to um, they're the messenger. They're here to get it and give it back out for sure. So for sure, Saturn in the third house. Saturn being restrictive, like a disciplinary, authoritative figure. Childhood for this person in school and like relating to siblings and such and peers may have been complicated. Um, there might have been a lot of disruptions far as their learning goes. Like they feel like they're moving ahead and then somehow they are falling back or pulled out for something and or not getting the additional training that they needed in something for whatever reason, whether it's a good reason or not. There was something that fell short and they had to work harder to keep up. And this is not about whether or not they're smart or not. It's just about circumstances and obstacles being placed where they're having to get over them at a young age and to actually like fight for their education or fight for being heard in their relationships with peers. It's something that they had to struggle with and had to like push through. Um, like they learned a lot of lessons in this area. Chances are, as they grew older, became an adult, they all those lessons that they learned, they may have like in turn like here again, someone could be a teacher, and as a teacher, they're like a safe haven for another child that maybe have dealt with something like this, or maybe a counselor, because or something that where once they got through all of these obstacles that Saturn placed in front of them, they actually went into an occupation where they can help those who struggled with the same thing. So like, cause like I said, Saturn do it wants us to succeed. It needs us to succeed. However, it's going to make it where when you do succeed, it's because you've paid your dues, you earned your stripes, and therefore you're more confident and you are more capable of doing what it is that you were set out to do. So yeah. So Saturn here, like I said, there was probably a disruption in learning, obstacles in learning or relating to their peers, and somehow as they push through those obstacles, you probably in turn got a career that also helps other children or other people who dealt with this same scenario. So here's Uranus in the third house. Uranus in the third house. Um, if someone has a Uranus placement in their third house, their thoughts, their ideas are probably unique from their peers. Um, Probably going through school, you had different solutions to problems, different solutions than the other to problems that your peers would have had. They probably all kind of thought the same lines for something, but you had a different way of going about the solution for the problem. That is Uranus. Uranus is all about individuality, being yourself in the collective. Chances are, like, your solutions or the thoughts that you had or the ideas you came up with, they were a little bit ahead of their time because you were able to see a little further ahead than the majority of the peers at that time, and you still may experience that if if I'm talking to an adult, and probably I am. You're probably still experiencing that in some ways, especially where um, like it's time to brainstorm, it's time to put ideas on the table. Yours is going to be seen as different, and if no one is sitting there at the table able to see your vision or see, you may find yourself being isolated all alone, and not necessarily feeling like you're heard or understood. Matter of fact, you may think you have been misunderstood for most of your life. Keep doing what you're doing. Like I said, Uranus is about being an individual. Your ideas, your brainstorming your vision to see things a little bit before, a little bit ahead of everyone else. Um, it helps innovate. It helps bring um, new aspects, new things to move and progress the collective. And so Uranus also with the third house is anything that was felt restraining to you, whether it's the schedule, um, yeah, like you have to be here at 9, you have to have your break at 12. That type of stuff would probably drive you insane. You kind of need your freedom, the freedom to help you think independently, the freedom to yeah, set your sights out there and like set your goals and work towards your goals. You more of an independent worker, independent learner. So when someone tries to like bring you in and make you conform to like a schedule or dress code or something like that, it brings out a rebellious nature about you, because you want your freedom. You want to be free to do what it is that you need to do. Um, so, you probably in your work environment, you would like to work alone and then bring your information to the table when you have that meeting. But other than that, they need to leave you alone and let you have your freedom and probably giving you a variety of surroundings and a variety of work to do that, again, keeps you challenged and um, keeps you engaged and motivated. Pluto in the third house, I would say this is a placement for definitely like a researcher, someone who, an investigator, someone who digs deep. Pluto has a built in skepticism. They don't necessarily trust right off. So they need to see if, they will dig down to uncover any truths that might be hidden. On the flip side, uh, Pluto can also keep secrets. So someone may confide in them um, to keep secrets, because um, they're not necessarily forthright on their own personal information. So they will also, harbor someone else's if asked, and they can, as far as relating with their siblings and peers, they probably like love and social and cordial and come around like they're showing up to birthday parties, cookouts, and what have you. But they may only be close to a few, and those are the ones that they feel safe with, because those people have passed the vetting that they may have to do to see if they're safe enough to witness their vulnerabilities. Yeah, um, Pluto has to connect on a deep level, and that deep level is very sensitive. So that's where that skepticism, like, is this person safe? Is this situation safe? So it just takes a moment for them to allow somebody in. So relating with their siblings, for the most part, probably all good, but may only be close. And that siblings or any type of peer, but only maybe close to a few compared to the whole, because only a few of them will be able to connect on that deeper level. So, yeah. When I think of Neptune in the third house, I think of someone who very imaginative, um, very dreamy, having maybe intuitive, I mean, well, definitely intuitive, having psychic abilities. I feel like as a child, they could create very whimsical stories um, that, or if they didn't create the stories, they were attracted to books and movies that were about fantasy, about um, dreamy, just those, yeah. I'm trying to think of a movie real quick that would make me think somebody from Neptune would love. It'll come to me, hopefully. If not, I'll put it in the description box. But yes, and so very imaginative. So in school, it was probably hard to get them to focus because they were in like this fantasy world. They were darting from here to there, probably very social, very open, probably open to a fault that relating to peers and siblings, if there was probably a lot of their boundaries that were not um, honored, whether they themselves were unable to hold boundaries or they were around people who did not respect their boundaries. See, Neptune has a characteristic where a one they like there's a oneness about them. We're all in this together. We're just and even though there is a oneness with all of us, we all still have our boundaries. We all still individuals amongst the collective. And sometimes Neptune can forget the boundaries in there and they just kind of like flow everybody together as one. And that could be been a challenge for Neptune in the third house and how they related to their peers. Not maybe not understanding early on if someone um, maybe wanted their space or like left them out of something that may have like they've taken that very personal when it wasn't personal. But yeah, having to navigate that and find out how to solidify their boundaries is something probably in how they relate to, especially with their peers. Like I said, siblings, cousins. I always repeat siblings and cousins and peers because I'm talking about people that are like on your like age group or your um, where you who you see like on a mundane, everyday, um, day to day interactions with. Um, those people are who are here in this third house and how we relate to them. So that dreamy, imaginative way of thinking, it's great because it keeps that person. That's where it helps them with their imagination. It helps them with their intuition. It helps them with their psychic abilities. But it's also hard for them to ground. Um, so when they do communicate, things may become out kind of confusing. When they do communicate, it may be chaotic. Um, Saying one thing, meaning something else, like nothing really jiving and kind of like coming together. So, um, yeah, Neptune, and I always say, has a lot of nuances to it. So the sign and the aspects will really tell the story. But yeah, it's a great place for your imagination being in the third house because it is you can be an author that writes outstanding fantasy books, um, or making movies that are fantasy or sci-fi or something on that level. But that's not of reality. But having to communicate that to other people who are their feet are planted on the ground can be the challenge. So last but not least, here is Chiron. Um, Chiron in the third house, Chiron being the wounded healer, would definitely show us where we have had some wounding here in the third house. If someone has Chiron in their third house, they they have received messages, whether school, whether around family, like especially kids their age, that somehow they were not good enough. Um, Somehow what they were communicating, there was always something wrong with it. Ridiculed, belittled, Something on that lines where you didn't feel heard or understood, nor did it seem like anyone ever tried to hear you or understand you. That put forth a wound. And here again is one of those things that the wound probably was so deep that as you matured and grew, you looked to careers that would actually help people that were definitely dealing with the same thing, um, to be able to help them, speak their voice, um, and have a safe space to do that. Um, Now, with Chiron, that wounding will always be around you, um, but it helps you heal to help others heal as well. So, yeah, if you have Chiron in the third house, there is a chance that somewhere growing up you were silenced or belittled for um, saying something, being a certain way, for, especially when it was like communicating who you are, having your voice, um, and competing when if it's a large family, trying to compete when to talk, when not to talk, to make sure you're heard and you're included, and those things were challenged, and so you have been working through that type of wounding um, since childhood. And believe it or not, like I said, pieces of that wounding will always be um, fresh. It will never like necessarily heal over. And but you will. It wouldn't be a surprise if you found an occupation that helped others get their voice out there and be able to stand up and speak for themselves, the way that you wanted to as a child and couldn't. So this concludes the third house. Um, if you stayed and you're hearing my voice now, thank you for staying. Thank you for watching it all the way through. And please don't hesitate to share it with someone. I like to connect with you all, so make sure you comment, give some insight. Did any of this resonate for you? Like, if you could, like the video. This helps others be able to come in contact with it, and subscribe. That way, when I drop any information, or any other videos, you're able to know that they're there so you can come back and see them. Again, this has been great, and I will be talking to you soon. And I'm going to put my details in the description box because I do personal natal readings. And right now they're at a reduced rate. So you might want to jump on that. And I'll catch you later. Bye.